Welcome. The Pixelated Sausage Show. Hi. Hi. How are y'all doing? I'm, of course, your host, Marcus Nez. Hopefully, y'all are doing well. I'm here to talk about games and all that jazz. Shouldn't be too long of an episode because the games I have are all on the smaller side. And outside of that, there's not too much else to talk about. This week is going to be filled with a lot of work, thanks to having some extra free time because I finished Golf Story last night at the time of this recording, which would be Tuesday evening, and that drained a lot out of me. You'll eventually get to hear my thoughts if you weren't able to catch any of the streams, but I did not have a good time with that game. And multiple times I said, I'm just not going to finish it. I'm going to stop here. But I pushed through. The final push, the final push was me pushing through that last challenge, that last little tournament that was a pain. And I didn't think I was going to do it, but we had time in the stream, so I figured we're already here. I might as well, even though I'm not feeling it, I'm not driven. We might as well keep trying until the clock hits 11, and we got there around 10:30, I think. But I wasn't even planning to initially keep playing through this week, but then I decided I already played 14 or so hours of this. I can't not see this through. Because if I don't stream it, if I stop now, I'm not going to play it off stream. I'm not going to finish this on my own because I don't care enough. But I've wasted enough of my time. I might as well keep going. And that's what we did. Not sure what I'm going to play next. I am kind of feeling like either Lonely Mountains Downhill or Riders Republic. My inclination is towards Riders Republic more so because I think even though I will enjoy Lonely Mountains, the nature of it, somewhat of a Trials type of vibe, but maybe a bit more chill. I think I could get really into wanting to get that ideal run, and coming off of Golf Story, I don't think that's the best game for me to play. I think it could lead to me not liking it as much as I probably would otherwise. I need something that is way more chill and relaxing and I don't have to worry about, and I want to know what Riders Republic's all about. I have no idea what the actual gameplay of that is. I remember trailers here and there, and I have a lot of preconceived conceptions based on what I've seen, but I don't know what it is. And I know they've added stuff like skateboarding post-launch, so I don't know what the game is in its current state. But I'm curious. I hope there is an open-ish type of area thing where you can just mountain bike around or whatever vehicles you can do. Just explore the world in the same way that Steep lets you not just play with the challenges, but just go snowboarding or skiing down the mountain. My ears go blah, blah, blah. The games that we'll be talking about today, to let you know, when I get to them, include both the Pinball FX table for the Princess Bride and Goat Simulator, two new tables that have been recently added to the game. And in addition to that, we've got Mining Mechs, Cyber Mission, SokoPenguin, Overdrive Blaster, Mangavania 2, Billy's Game Show. That's it. I should have said and after Mangavania for Billy's Game Show. A lot of smaller titles this week. There's been a lot of Xbox news and just there's news all over the place, but a lot of Xbox news of varying degrees of varying positivity or negativity. It's just this is the year of Xbox, of good news, bad news, weird news, news, why news, so many newses. So I'm just going to focus on the good. And the good is, while it's not coming out this year, next year, we are getting something I was complaining about last week. We will be getting the Capcom collections, both the Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and the recently announced Capcom Fighting Game Collection Volume 2, which is very exciting. I'm happy because that is my platform of preference, but I'm also happy because now those games will be available to everyone and not just everyone sans Xbox players, because I'd like those games to be available to everyone so that everyone could potentially experience wonderful games like Power Stone 1 and 2 or the Punisher arcade game. I would love to see more stuff that has never been ported come specifically from Capcom. I'm looking at the second Phoenix Wright collection because we did get the most recent one that came out, I believe, on Xbox, but there was that middle one. Maybe it's Miles Edgeworth. I can't remember what was the one that followed up the original Phoenix Wright trilogy or whatever that collection was. And I believe the reason why that didn't come to Xbox was them citing the poor sales of that original collection, which I think sold in the thousands on Xbox. Maybe a little bit better, but it was pretty dismal based on the information out there. I don't know if we ever had any official wording or whatnot from Capcom or anyone who said this is how many copies it sold. I'm not sure if we got that official number, but by all accounts, it sold very poorly. So what was the point in porting another collection? So we never got that one, which is a bummer, because I like everything being in as many places as possible for those people like it. And I guess financially it just doesn't make sense, even though I think and wonder how hard is it to port between the consoles when they are, especially now, they're just so close in terms of their makeup. This isn't the 360 PS3 generation, but I don't know anything on the technical side. And that was an Xbox One, PS4 era thing where there might have been a bit more of a discrepancy. So, anywho, I'm just happy that those two collections are coming to Xbox, because really, really bummed me out, as you probably were able to tell. Then outside of that, more layoff news, unsurprising layoff news. Suicide Squad, the Rocksteady team, has seen some. I'm honestly surprised that the studio is not seeing a closure based on how poorly that game did and what do they have working on now, what are they working on now, how much of that classic Arkham team is still there. I think people have talked about a lot of departures prior and during the course of development. So who knows? Because I think that was the case with Arcane, when Microsoft closed who they closed, Arcane in a way made sense, because I remember hearing there have been a lot of departures, and who was there of that original team that worked on Dishonored and Ray and what else? Anything else, or is it just that teaming on Dishonored and then they're like, so, don't like it, but understandable. The Tango Gameworks one is the one that I don't think should have happened. I understand that. Was it McConnell? I can't remember who the people are, but losing that leader, and then also I know the creative director, the lead for the Ghostwire game, who was so popular, the lady who was all bubbly, she also departed. But clearly they had the talent. They put out Hi-Fi Rush, which was a well-made game, might not have sold well or was played a lot via Game Pass. Contradictory statements out there, who fucking knows. But It was your Japanese studio. Just don't keep them. It's not your little doorway into the Japanese market, but it's just a bad look. And it's a good studio, and come on. That one is the one that hurts. And still hurts. Thankfully, a good amount of the team stayed and was able to move over to the PUBG Corporation, whatever that company is called. And one of the weirdest, I don't understand how that worked out, because it seemed like when you announced closing them, you just closed them, but you were working on this behind the scenes the whole time. Why say that you're closing them then? I don't understand taking all that bad press when this was happening, or that all those talks initiated after that came out. But you were like, oh, we didn't actually close them yet. They're still, you want them? Okay, let's talk about this. Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand it. I don't know if we'll ever understand it, but I would love to understand it. But outside of that, my MCU rewatch continues. Just watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which is the first of the movies I actively hated watching. I was hoping I might like it more this time, but I may have enjoyed it less. I think the humor barely ever lands. I don't like the storyline at all. I don't care about this. I didn't need a whole movie about fucking Peter's dad and all this shit. I don't like the gold people in it. There are parts of it that feel very Ready Player One in bad ways. I just don't like so much of it. There are little moments here and there, but it is the one that I actively dislike watching, which puts it at the very bottom of my list. So it's number 15, just below Thor Dark World, because Thor Dark World is very bad, but it's bad in a forgettable, boring way. And I can deal with that more so than watching something and actively being bothered that I have to watch this. In Thor Dark World, I'm just when's this gonna be over? It's just like I feel nothing. And I'd rather feel nothing than anger and annoyance and frustration and hatred while watching something. It's just so much about it I don't like. And also, the most obnoxious, I don't know if any of the following movies do the same thing or exceed it, most obnoxious mid-credit scene roll out there, like fucking 15 goddamn scenes. Oh, here's another one. Fucking 30 seconds later, here's another one. I'm fast forward through this thing. Oh, there's another one? What's this? Oh, this is fucking stupid. Oh, another one? Oh, okay. Oh, another one? Man. At least Guardian 3 was solid overall. I really liked... Is the last name Warlock? Adam? I like that character in that movie. It's an okay movie. But I'm excited that the rest of the MCU from here on out through Endgame, technically counting all of Phase 3, it would end with not No Way Home, Far From Home, which is weird. It is so weird that Phase 3 does not end with Endgame. I don't like that at all. But that's the official end of Phase 3. But outside of Captain Marvel, all pretty good. I like Homecoming. I like Far From Home. I hate the wording, the naming structure for the Spider-Man movies. I always mix them up, especially Far From Home and No Way Home, because they're too damn fucking close. But we've got, what is it next? What was it? Not Captain Marvel, not Captain, it's not Ant-Man. It's something new. It's not Black Panther. It's not Thor Ragnarok. That's the one that follows whatever I'm watching next, which is Help me out here, people. It's something with not Avengers. I can't remember. What are the movies? I just looked this up like 10 minutes ago. I just watched Guardians. There's Ant-Man and the Wasp left. There's Thor Ragnarok. There's Infinity War and Endgame and Black Panther and Captain Marvel and it's Homecoming. It's Homecoming. That's why, because those are technically MCU, but they still don't feel MCU. But I'm excited to watch that follow-up. I like Michael Keaton in that a whole bunch, who I guess now is going by Michael Keaton Douglas, because his real name is Michael Douglas, but there's already a Michael Douglas, so he made his name Michael Keaton. And I look at that and I think, what's the point of changing your name now? I don't just stick with Michael Keaton, but at the same time, you're old. You do whatever you want to do. Nobody cares anymore. You're not acting all that much. Whatever. But it's just gonna be Michael Keaton to me. I'm not calling him Michael Keaton Douglas. It's too much. There's too many words. Why not just say, hey, my name is Michael Douglas. I'm getting rid of Keaton. Fuck Michael Douglas. And then when there's a movie where Hank Pym and what's his character's name? It's not the Raven. It's not the Crow. It's not Birdman. It's not Hawkeye. It's whatever his name is. I'm trying to think. I thought I had it there for a second. But whenever there's a movie where they're both in it, you could say, starring Michael Douglas and Michael Douglas. And that'd be pretty cool. So I think you should just drop the Keaton and go back to Michael Douglas, so that whenever we get a movie with both Michael Douglases, we can have a Michael Douglas and Michael Douglas thing. And then when you see it back to back, it opens the movie, you get the opening credits, starring Michael Douglas and Michael Douglas. You'll be wondering to yourself, well, who got top billing? Which Michael Douglas is the bigger pull here? Is it Michael Douglas or Michael Douglas? And then if they do two great performances and they're both nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars, up for Best Actor, we have Michael Douglas and Michael Douglas, and the winner is Michael Douglas. And then it's for the same movie, it's Michael Douglas for blah blah blah. Wait, which Michael Douglas is it? Because they're both in this movie and they're both Michael Douglas. That's what I want. I wonder if that's why the guild didn't allow people with the same name for that potential thing happening, which was very unlikely. A lot of things would have to perfectly align for that to happen, and it would probably be more likely for them to be nominated for Best Supporting Actor in the same movie than Best Actor. But that's what I want. I want Michael Keaton Douglas to change it to Michael Douglas, and then to have that Michael Douglas moment. Anywho, let's talk about games. That's why we're here, isn't it? Starting with Pinball FX, The Princess Bride Pinball. This table, I did not like. I don't think the theming is strong. It feels more so like a generic medieval table than strongly Princess Bridey. Played it a few times, didn't get a lot of fun interactions. It does have sound clips from the movie, and you get some little clips, video clips here and there. But it didn't give me a strong Princess Bride feel. None of that storytelling aspect to it. There has to be some way to start a challenge that involves the poison scene. I don't know what's considered the most famous scene from the movie, but for me, that's one that sticks out because I'm half Sicilian, so anytime a movie mentions Sicily in any way, I think, oh my god, look at that. They're not just doing the whole stupid Italian thing. So That, yeah. And I'm not the biggest fan of the movie. I enjoy it. I'm like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good. But, settle down. But it's an okay table. The ball does do what it tends to do in a lot of Pinball FX tables, which is liking to or being inclined to fall down the middle without a bit of nudging, and I'm just not a good nudger. I will never grasp. Somebody would have to teach me. I would have to be taught how to successfully nudge a digital pinball table to make it work in my favor. But I think the theming is the part where that lost me a lot. It looks good, but I just didn't get a strong feeling of, oh, this is a pinball or a Princess Bride table. It just felt like a medieval table, and they have a medieval generic table, I believe, and some other ones. I think they have a castle. Do they have a Castle Storm table? Yeah, that one didn't quite work for me. However, the next one, Pinball FX Goat Simulator Pinball, I thought that one was quite well done. It looks great. Theming's pretty solid. You got some crazy physics going around every now and again, exploding goat. I really like the way they handle the balls, which are random. You can get a basketball for a pinball or a beach volleyball or just a beach ball and stuff like that. So that's a little fun bit of theming, is just the random nature. The stuff you can interact with. It has a lot of fun things going on in it, and it just looks good, and the ball likes to stay in play, which is something I appreciate a lot in these games, because as a casual pinball player, that's important to me. I know it's not going to be important to your competitive player, but for a lot of us who I would assume are more on the casual side, it's nice when a table feels a bit more friendly. I did notice now for the first time that there is this little toggle between, I can't remember the wording, if it's classic physics and realistic. I didn't try that, but I want to try that with some of the other tables. I could have tried that with Princess Bride, but I want to try that with some of the other tables that I've had issue with, to see if realistic physics, the way they implement them, if that changes things and makes tables that used to not feel great feel better. Because I've talked about how I'm much more of a fan of the Pinball Arcade, which is a realistic pinball game based on real pinball tables. So if I can get more of that feel in Pinball FX, I'm way more inclined to really enjoy the game, because I want to enjoy it. I love pinball. I have all of the tables except for the Star Trek ones, which I need to get at some point. Just waiting for them to go on sale at some point. I can wait. But I would like to like it because it has a lot of fun themed tables that are based off of things I like. There's a Garfield, either one table or a set. I love Garfield. And I like a lot of the stuff in there. It's just the physics. Me and them don't jive. But of the two new tables, I definitely would say the Goat Simulator one is the best of the two. Princess Bride, if you're a really big fan, you might get a kick out of it, just getting to hear the sound clips and seeing some video clips every now and again. And there has to be, depending on where you hit it, at some point, something that really feels strong in the theming way. But in the time I put into it, I never experienced anything too strong in that sense. Then next up, we have Mining Mechs. This is very much so going after that SteamWorld Dig type of vibe, where you have your mining mech and you're just digging into the earth, collecting various ores and dirt, and then coming back to the surface to unlock upgrades, unlock new mechs, complete missions and side missions and so on, and it's fine. It has that satisfying gameplay loop. It looks all right. One of the differences here is that while you are collecting ore, you're also collecting dirt. Not because you want to collect dirt, just because when you're digging it, where is the dirt going? So you have to get rid of that as well. The thing about it is that it's pretty slow early on, in that your drilling takes a while, and there's something about it that feels not as satisfying. It might be that it's a bit more zoomed out. Think like a Terraria, so it's not as closed in. And because you are this mech, some of the challenges aren't there in terms of you having to make sure the way you're digging, you have to. In SteamWorld Dig, there was amounts of strategy required when you were digging to make sure that you would still be able to get back to the surface. Whether that meant using ladders here and there to reach certain heights so that you could then jump and double. I can't remember if it was just I think there was a double jump. There had to have been, or not just, or maybe just a wall jump. But you had to make sure that you would have a way to get back to the top. And if you didn't, you would have to self-destruct or something like that. And then you would lose what you've collected. So that was an important part of it. Here, it's not. There's no fuel. There's no lighting or any kind of duration thing you have to worry about. It's just your inventory space. And in order to get back to the surface, your mech can just fly up. You just hold up on the analog stick and you're flying up. And that's just... It makes it easier and friendly, user-friendly in that way. But it does take... I don't know if it's just that, but I feel like that oversimplification and taking away that one little bit of strategy required, that one aspect of having to think, it takes away any reason to have to think about anything. There could be some stuff that comes in later down the line, but early on it's just like, oh, so I'm just drilling into earth and I'm collecting this stuff, and I don't have to think about anything I'm doing because I know I'll be able to get back to the surface. Okay, it's fine, mindless entertainment, but at the same time, I wish I had to think about something a little bit. The only thing you have to think about is that you can't drill up, and you can't drill while in the air. So you still have to kind of play where you're drilling. So if you can't reach something, you're gonna have to go back up to a top point and drill down towards it. So that's the only part where you have to think about the way you're drilling. But outside of that, it's pretty simple. But it plays well, looks good. It does scratch that itch. Again, it's just depending on who you are. The fact that you don't have to think about how and making sure you're able to get back to the top. That's either going to sound great to you, or it's going to sound like, oh, I wish there was something I had to think about. But solid digging game. I've still not played SteamWorld Dig 2, so I would just go back and play that. I wonder if they're making a 3. They made all these other SteamWorld games. Go back to Dig, and maybe they figured with 2, because I don't know what 2 is like. Maybe with 2 they said, we've done it all. There's no more digging to be dug. So, yeah. Next is Cyber Mission, and this is a horizontal scrolling shmup, kind of, essentially, where you first start off the game and you're in this giant ship and you are shooting ships that are coming towards you and shooting asteroids whilst trying to avoid them as well. And that feels terrible. I did not like that. I was very concerned that was the only way the game was going to be, and I did not like that. But after you get through that first part of the level, you come out of your ship as a dude flying in space. And then you're doing the same thing, but you're shooting enemies as they're coming from either side of the screen. And it feels okay, but there's just something about it that wasn't quite clicking. And maybe it was that initial negative feeling from that first section, and I don't know what the breakdown of the game is as a whole in terms of how much of it is the large ship fighting and how much of it is the out of ship person fighting, if it's an even balance. But I wasn't driven to even make it through that first level. I really didn't like that first fighting, and I didn't think that the out of ship fighting was that much better. It was better, but I think the thought that I would have to then go back in the ship after I completed that part really soured my desire to want to keep playing. SokoPenguin, that's Cyber Mission. I don't have anything else to say about it. SokoPenguin is a Sokoban puzzle game. Obviously, there's Soko in it, so why wouldn't it be? Where you play a penguin pushing blocks and whatnot around in order to clear a path to reach the igloo at the end of a level. I played through the first 21 levels, and at first you're just moving blocks out of the way in water to clear a path, and then you are pushing electricity blocks on the specified spaces in order to activate a bridge to get to the igloo. Then they introduce these hazardous spiky squares that you can push blocks into to destroy them. You'll also die if you go into them. And it is constantly adding to the formula with new things to avoid, new ways of getting rid of boxes, and so on, to increase the challenge, complicate how you have to think. And it's a satisfying game, a good steady ramp up in challenge and complexity, which I was enjoying. I'll go back and I'll play more. I think there are 100 levels in it, so there's a lot more for you to see. But a pretty solid, well done Sokoban game. Pleasant art, nothing too crazy going on there. The only thing that I think is weird is that you're a penguin, and if you end up accidentally going in the water, level resets. And are there penguins who can't swim? Because you might be a baby penguin. Can baby penguins not swim? Do penguins have to grow up a little bit before they can go in water and not drown? But I don't know if there's such a thing as a penguin in general that can't swim. So let me get out of the fucking water. I accidentally went in the water and I did all this work and now I have to do it all over again because I went in the water. Come on. Why do I need a bridge too? I'm a fucking penguin. So someone please educate me. And then if there is a race of penguins, a species of penguins that can't swim, then I want this game to be called SokoPenguin *. These are so-and-so penguins. They can't swim, so shut the fuck up and leave us alone. Why are you complaining about this, you idiot? Who cares? It's just a fucking game. Don't think about it. Make me an Eskimo then. Why am I a penguin? Sure, humans can swim, but they'd fucking freeze to death real fast. So just when I fall in the water, turn me into an ice cube, and then I drown and I die. But I'm a penguin. I'm a penguin. Is that what penguins sound like? But that's SokoPenguin. Overdrive Blaster is a weird twin stick shooter, not twin stick shooter, where you're fighting these enemies as they're coming at you and getting increasingly more difficult. And it's not a twin stick shooter in the sense that you're shooting with a button and shooting in the direction you're facing and moving. But it has that twin stick look, over the top view, camera's perspective, zoomed out. Looks very much so, more so like what the Survivor games now, Vampire Survivor and so on. It has a very similar look to those, but you're actively shooting. It's not a auto shooter. And the thing about it is, when you kill enemies, depending on the enemy, they will drop a certain colored ball. And when you collect 3 of the same color, you will upgrade that particular weapon. And the last one you upgraded will be your active one, and that will fire randomly in certain intervals, maybe every 3 seconds, something like that. And if you mix and match, you won't get any kind of upgrade. So you have to make sure that you collect 3 of the same color. First it'll be red, then you'll fight some enemies that drop green ones, then blue, and that's it. I cleared the first level or the game. I don't even know how it's set up, because after maybe 10 minutes, I beat it and unlocked all 2,000 achievement points. And I said, okay, why do I want to keep playing? And the answer to that is I have no reason to keep playing. So really, Overdrive Blaster is just an achievement / trophy game. If you're into achievements and or trophies and you want an easy, lots of them, especially achievements, because I don't think you're going to get 2 platinums from this, but 2,000 achievement points is the equivalent of what would be 2 platinums. So there's that. And you could buy on Xbox, at least probably on Play. There might be a PS4 and a PS5 version, but on Xbox, there is a separate series version and a Xbox One version. So you can technically get 4,000 achievement points real fast and real easy. So if you want to spend $10 for 2 versions of the same game for 4,000 achievement points, you do you. But just know, once you do that there's no more reason to play the game. Mangavania 2 is one I wish I liked more. Or it's not that I wish I liked more, it's I wish one particular mechanic wasn't so finicky. It has a really, really cool monochromatic look to it. Black and white with some red. Looks really, really nice. Side-scrolling action platformer. Pretty zoomed in. Looks good. Like it. And you're just starting each level and then wanting to reach the torch at the end to complete it. Levels run probably between 30 to 60 seconds on average, somewhere in there. Maybe a bit less for some of them. And you're attacking enemies here and there, avoiding obstacles and dangers, doing a lot of wall jumping. And it feels pretty good for the most part, but they introduced this double jump-ish mechanic where you'll see non-lit torches in certain spaces, and if you attack them, you'll get a double jump. I ran into multiple instances where it did not acknowledge the attack. It didn't work. And it seemed like the timing was inconsistent and where you had to hit them and when you had to initiate the attack. And maybe it was just specific torches, because other ones, they felt good. I didn't have any issue. I got them the first time, but there were some I'd run into every now and again where it seemed like they were very, very specific in when they wanted you to hit them. And that really soured the whole experience. Outside of that, I liked the game. It was fun. The boss fights really up the challenge, and it may just be because there's nothing really challenging about the levels themselves. They're fun to get through, and a lot of the heavy lifting is on the visual style. I like the way the game looks a lot. But there's not a whole bunch of challenge unless you are trying to get through it as fast as possible, get a low finish time, and therefore you're maybe making mistakes here and there. But you can take a fair amount of damage before you completely die and have to restart a level. But then the boss fights just feel kind of out of place. I don't even know if they should be in there. I think the game should have focused on more and more creative level design and not bother with bosses, the handful of bosses that are in it, because they don't really add anything. If anything, they take, because the combat is not good. It's it gets the job done in regular levels, but when you're fighting bosses, you don't feel as capable as you do when you're able to just platform around. And then the last game is Billy's Game Show, which is, I guess, a first-person horror game where you have to collect 3 heads in order to get out of this area. Somebody's watching you with cameras, and they throw you into various areas where you have to complete tasks and get through things unseen in certain sections and stuff of that nature. But very early on, I went up to the first level. Well, you have your ground level, and I went up to level 1. And I was doing some stuff, and I died. And then it respawned me that, oh, anything you had on you has been put into this area, whatever. Okay, great. But it left the elevator on level 1. And maybe I was missing something, but I was looking for a little bit, and it's like, how the fuck do I get this elevator back down? I couldn't find anything. So I may have just been having a stroke because they seem to run in the family. But I couldn't find a fucking way to read the elevator. And I was like, okay, well, I guess the game's over for me. And I was not inclined to restart it, especially if that was an issue and not just me. So it may be the game, it may be me, but the game itself, even if that wasn't a thing, it's like, it wasn't. It didn't pull me into the world with the visuals or the story or the voice acting. It's like, you have these generators you have to make sure are always running, so you do have to make sure to go back down to the ground level and rewind them up, repower them, which is a kind of cool thing you have to think about. But yeah, no, it wasn't. Initial impression and potential game-breaking issue there kind of left me saying, But that's it. So that will do it for this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you get access to a monthly Q&A, some fancy Discord roles, a private Discord channel, random drops here and there. I'm thinking about starting a new thing called Story Time with Mark Krishnez, where I get personal and tell you stories. If that is something that would sound appealing, I don't know. I was thinking about doing the first one on my love story. That is a really, there's so many weird things about it. It's also not a real love story, but it's the closest thing I have to a love story. And this is, not a happy ending. We were both at fault in various ways, but ultimately it was me who ruined everything. You want the full details, then I could do that. And that would be the first story time, if that's the thing. But all of that and more. Or you could just support me if that is your fancy. That is, again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have both a wonderful rest of your day, a lovely rest of your week, and a wonderful weekend. But for now, adios. Arrivederci. Bye. Bye. It's go time. Go daddy. It's go time. Go daddy. It's go time. Go daddy.